What's going on, guys? Off the Brink TV here, bringing you another video. And this time, as you can see, I'm on TV. If you've been a subscriber to my channel, you know I've never actually spoken to the camera, but I want that to change. Not only do I want to do gaming on YouTube, but I'd like to do some technology reviews as well. So if you like this kind of thing, definitely subscribe. Today we're going to be looking at the HHKB Type-S. It's just a keyboard, but not your everyday keyboard. So if you've never heard of the HHKB, it's probably because they're not available in the States. They're only sold in Japan. So if you want to get your hands on one, you're going to have to order them through a website that either has Japanese or overseas items available, such as EliteKeyboards.com, or you can actually use a proxy, such as Tenso. What a proxy does is actually allows you to buy from an overseas website that doesn't ship to the United States, such as Japanese Amazon, and allows you to purchase the Japanese item, have it sent to their warehouse, and they'll actually ship it to you. That's the method I used, but depending on what you're getting, it might not be the most cost effective, so you're definitely going to have to check that out. HHKB actually stands for Happy Hacking Keyboard. I know, a little ridiculous. What it does is sport a certain switch that is different than your average mechanical keyboard that has Cherry MX switches. This is a Topre switch, which works similar to a mix of a mechanical keyboard and a rubber dome. Basically what you have is a housing and a slider or plunger that moves through that housing on top of a rubber dome, usually printed on sheets, with the spring underneath the rubber dome. Even though the rubber dome has a spring, the rubber part is actually what controls the tactile feedback and the weight of the switch. The Type-S, unfortunately, only comes in white. But it's not like a pure white, it's more of an off-white or pearl. At first, I wish they had a black version, but I'm kind of happy about the color choice. It gives a really cool, old-school vibe, and in a world of black components, it could really add some color to your setup. One thing to keep in mind is Topre is a pretty rare switch, so there aren't a lot of companies that make extra keycaps for it, but of course you could still dress it up with what you can find. Another great thing about the keyboard is it actually comes with thin Pbt keys. Unfortunately, they're not thick, but Pbt is still a much more durable and reliable plastic that won't shine as fast as ABS keys found on basically all keyboards or your common keyboard. It still has that texture and that awesome Pbt feel if you're familiar with it, but it's definitely no different than any other Pbt I've tried. As you can see, I actually went with the blank keycaps. They do have a version with the legends, but I feel having blank caps helps you learn your way around the keyboard, especially with this unique layout, which I'll get into in a second. But if you do go with the blank caps, I strongly advise getting or printing out a copy of the layout and having it nearby in case you need to reference. It does help quite a bit. Now, this is the Type-S version, S standing for silenced or silencing. So basically there's a foam disc around the plunger or the slider at the base of it. So on the upstroke, instead of the plastic of the slider making contact with the plastic housing and giving you a clack sound, it's actually muffled with this foam disc. I'm going to be doing a sound comparison with the Leopold FC660C, so you can actually see how effective the silencing is in comparison with a board without one. One thing to note, underneath the keys here is what we call the plate. The HHKB uses a plastic plate, not an aluminum one. Now that could be a pro for some and a con for others. Personally, I happen to like an aluminum plate like found on the Leopold FC660C because it gives the keyboard a lot more of a solid feel. However, I could see why they did this. Given the fact that the HHKB is so small, it's actually roughly the size of a 60% keyboard, some people might want to use it for travel. The fact that it doesn't have an aluminum plate actually makes it really lightweight and easy to carry, or throw in your carry or laptop bag. Now, in the back, you actually have two USB 2.0 ports, so the keyboard could serve as a hub. Given the fact that it's so lightweight, and if you are traveling with it, that could be a huge plus to add an extension to your laptop's USB capabilities. Another thing to mention is HHKB's layout. It's quite popular among the keyboard community because it's so smart, intuitive, and it's actually extremely fun to type on. The way you control the layout or change the layout is with the dip switches here on the back. Having the first and second switch off puts the keyboard in HHKB mode, which basically means you can't use the function and tab for activating and deactivating caps lock. Having the first one on and the second off puts it in light mode, meaning you can use the function and tab for caps lock. Having the first switch off and the second on puts it in Mac mode. And the third dip switch makes the delete key a backspace. Putting the fourth switch on lets you switch the Mayday key to a function key. And the fifth switch changes the Alt and the Mayday key. And the Mayday key serves as a Windows key or command when Mac is enabled. The sixth switch allows you to enable using the keyboard to wake up your PC. If you noticed, when I mentioned the delete and backspace key, I pointed here to where / would be on any other normal keyboard. That's because on the HHKB, it is actually delete by default, but using the dip switch changes it to backspace by default, but function delete. Personally, I love the fact that backspace is here. It makes a lot more sense since I hardly ever use / and it's a lot more accessible with my right pinky. Also, what is unique about this keyboard is the fact that this key here, that would normally be caps lock on another keyboard, is control by default, and none of these keys are changeable without using some type of software within Windows. Now, before we get into the sound comparison, it's important to note one major thing. The keyboard is weighted at 45 grams, however, it feels substantially lighter than the Leopold FC660C, weighted at the same actuation force. Now, I don't know if this is due to HHKB in general, or just the fact that it's silenced. Although I do hear that all of the happy hacking keyboards do feel lighter than other keyboards weighted at the same. Now, I was actually going to return my Leopold when I received the Type-S, but given the fact that they feel completely different, I decided to keep them both. I really do love typing on the HHKB. It's a wonderful experience. Whether or not the dampening and the feel is worth the extra money is completely up to you. However, I highly doubt you'd be looking at this keyboard if this wasn't a hobby for you to begin with. Justifying such a large price for stock silencing is really tough. But if you have the money to splurge, I would definitely recommend this keyboard. It's awesome. I have a great time using it, and the layout cannot be beat. Now let's get into the sound comparison. So that basically concludes my overview and review of the HHKB Type-S. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up as it really helps me out. And if you like what I'm doing now with the channel, definitely subscribe because I'm going to be putting up some more content real soon. If you have any general feedback, comments, anything, definitely leave them in the section below. But other than that, thanks for watching. Peace.